I did not enjoy it as much as I'm having a bit of technical, well not technical, just physical difficulties. Oh my god, I just sat on all my books. Hey guys, it's Elise, welcome back to my channel, welcome if you're new. We're gonna do a little, all the books I read in 2022/December 2022. Also, all the books that I currently have here, you can see this little pile here, are all the books I want to read in 2023. So the first book I started off with in 2022 was It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. This was definitely like a 5-star read. It's basically about Lily and her experiences with like past and present relationships. So you are currently in the current timeline, and it's her relationship with this guy Ryle that she meets literally on the first page. Like, it's not really a spoiler, like you read the first page and he's in the book. And then she has these journals that are like the way to the past, like it's basically past point of view but through her journals, and it's with her first love Atlas. You get to see the relationship she had with her first love and the relationship she had with her currently has with her current love, I guess, and then Atlas comes back into the picture, so you have all this drama. Like, it's like a love triangle, and it's really interesting. I really loved it. If I was to recommend any book, it would probably be It Ends With Us, but also search up triggers before you read the book. The next book I read was It Starts With Us, basically just a sequel. A lot of people didn't like this, but I did like it. But I think you've got to read the disclaimer at the front. It literally on the, I think it's, yeah, it says Dear Reader, and it has like this whole disclaimer, and it's basically just like, she never intended to write a sequel. So this was just because the fans wanted it so bad. If you haven't read It Ends With Us and you don't want to be spoiled for this one, I would skip. This one was probably like a 4.5. I did not enjoy it as much as It Ends With Us, but I didn't not enjoy it. Like, I really enjoyed it as well. I loved it, but I just felt like I can't say it dragged on because I read it in 3 days, but I don't know, actually no, I think I enjoyed this one. No, this is definitely a 5-star. I'm sorry. Basically this is where you would want to skip to whatever timestamp I put it on if you don't want to know the spoilers. But this one is Lily and Ryle, and, well, not Lily and Ryle, Lily and Atlas's love story. It picks up where It Ends With Us ended, and it follows them, Lily and Atlas, trying to have this relationship with Ryle still in the picture, because Ryle and Lily are co-parenting. You to go through their experience of trying to co-parent but also not upset Ryle, and then it's just like this whole thing. Didn't like Ryle, but also because I loved It Ends With Us so much, I brought the new collector's edition, just because I liked how they looked on my shelves, like how these are literally the exact same size. Also this one has gold on it, which is so pretty. I love it. The next book I read I think I also read this in November, was Ugly Love, also by Colleen Hoover. I was going through like trying to get into reading, so Colleen Hoover was just like a great way to start. This one was probably like a 4-star. Yeah, 4-star. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I got through this one also within 3 days. I don't know if that's a good comparison, because a lot of the books later on that I enjoyed, I didn't read them in 3 days. I read them in like a week, but I still enjoyed them. Like, they were also really high rankings. But this one basically follows Tate and Miles through like this friends with benefits relationship. Miles is Tate's brother's best friend, or like, I know they're friends. I don't know if that's actually stated that they're best friends, but I know they're friends and they work together. Miles had this trauma. He didn't want to have another relationship. He didn't want to fall in love. He didn't want to have any attachments. So when he starts falling for Tate, it's like horrible, and he doesn't like it. Basically they were meant to have no strings attached. Like, it was literally just sex, and that was all their relationship was meant to be, other than I guess like a friendship. It's told in Miles' point of view and also in Tate's point of view, but Miles' point of view is in the past. It's 6 years prior to this present timeline, and Tate's point of view is the present timeline. The next book I read was Back to You by Tammy Robinson. This was basically me trying to get out of my whole Colleen Hoover thing and just experience other authors. So this one I would rate maybe like a 4-star as well. Like, I didn't enjoy it as much as It Ends With Us, but I also really enjoyed it. It was really interesting. This one is about Finn and Zoe and how they meet one day, and they have this instant connection. They spend like a weekend together, I think is what it was. They fall in love really fast. Finn has to go on this, like, I think he's in Africa. He goes travelling for a bit in honour of his sister who passed away. He doesn't get to see Zoe, and they keep in contact and they talk through email and text and stuff, and you actually get to see the text, which is super cool. Zoe gets into this accident and it's really life-changing, and she doesn't want Finn to have to be with her, like feel like he has to be with her, so she just cuts contact with him. Finn has to decide how hard he's willing to fight to be with Zoe. Next book I read was Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. This one would be like a 4.5. And I know these are all really high ratings, but like, believe me, the next 2 books aren't that high rating. It's about Kenna, and she basically had this horrible experience, well, like this, I think it's traumatic, yeah, Colleen Hoover just going for the traumatic experiences. Something happens, she goes to prison for 5 years. When she's in prison, she has a daughter. So the daughter ends up going to live with her grandparents, which aren't Kenna's parents, like they're her in-laws, I guess. When Kenna is released from prison 5 years after the incident that got her into prison, she goes back to the small town that her daughter lives in and tries to get her back. Everyone in the town hates her. This guy, Ledger, is the bar owner, and he's the closest contact that Kenna has with her daughter because Ledger has a relationship with her daughter. So the next book I read was Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Oh my god, I might have to shut my window. This fucking thunder. Oh, I don't know if you can still hear the rain, but it's a lot better than it was. But anyway, next book I read was Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one I would have to rate like a 3-star. I didn't enjoy it as much as every other book I've said so far in this video. I didn't hate it. I'm gonna say that about all these books because I know people like these books, but it's about this this family, these 4 siblings, and they're famous because of their father, kind of. Like, they all kind of came into their own. They became famous on their own, but everyone knows them because of their father, because their father's famous. It's like double timeline. So one is their like the beginning of their family, so their parents falling in love, and then their births of everyone, and how their mother dealt with that, and also like how like they just grew up. And then the other point of view is it's a day in August of 1983, and basically they're throwing this party at the older sibling Nina's house, and they have this annual end of summer party every year, and basically it ends in tragedy with like a fire. And it also has Carrie Soto in it, who is in the Taylor Jenkins Reid's new book. Carrie Soto is back. Next book I read was All Your Perfects, also by Colleen Hoover. I did not enjoy this. This was like a 2-star read. I enjoyed the then timeline, but I didn't enjoy the now timeline. Following this couple, and the then part is them falling in love, them meeting, falling in love, and like all this stuff, like them eventually getting married. And then the now timeline is them married, they're really unhappy, they're going through a lot of problems in their marriage, and basically they're falling out of love, and I guess it's like really close to divorce, but they eventually figure it out, and then they fall back in love again, and you get to follow their journey of falling in love again after they were having problems. I didn't enjoy it though. It was a 2-star read for me. You might enjoy this, I don't know, but it just wasn't for me. But I would recommend it, I guess, but I didn't enjoy it myself. Like, I wouldn't recommend it to any of my friends. I would recommend a lot of the other books over this one. The last book I finished reading by this point when I'm filming this video was November 9, also by Colleen Hoover. This one was one of my favorites that I've read. One of my favorite books I've read this year. This is a 5-star. November 9 is so good, would recommend. It's also been through a lot of there's like, if you can tell, I can't tell if you can tell, but maybe you can tell. Yeah, I sat on it, and then I also threw it into the wall on accident. It took me a week to read though, and this is one of the books where I was like, I can't say like the 3-day thing meant I loved it, because I loved this one and it took me a week to read it. But basically, this one is about Fallon and Ben, and Ben is a aspiring novelist and Fallon is a actress. She had this accident and basically it stopped her opportunities for acting. So she's moving across the country the night they meet. So like basically they meet, they have like I think 4 hours together, and then she gets on the plane to go across the country and live somewhere else. They have this instant connection, so they make this deal to meet every year on November 9. You get to see them falling in love, but also denying that Fallon denying that she's in love with Ben, because Ben's just all like, I'm in love with you, and he says it pretty much from like the second time they meet each other. Fallon is all like, I can't be in a relationship till I'm 23. Ben is writing a book about this whole November 9th thing, and that is why they're meeting every year on November 9th and having no contact until the next November 9th. Really enjoyed it. It was so good. I loved it so much, because you would think that they were on like really, like they were gonna just end this whole November 9 thing and then be together and just forget about it, and then they would have this whole disagreement and stuff, and then they would not talk to each other. Well, obviously they wouldn't talk to each other for the next year, but they just would end the whole November 9 thing, and then the next year you would see them and then they would be all good and happy, and then it would all go downhill again. But I really enjoyed it. It really played with my heartstrings. There's also a really big plot twist in it that I accidentally spoiled for myself, but if I hadn't spoiled it for myself I would have been like, what the heck. This book is in the same world as Ugly Love. Miles and Tate from Ugly Love make an appearance in November 9. It's a really small appearance, but they do make an appearance. And then the book I'm currently reading is The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. If you haven't watched the show, you might not know about this book. Well, you would probably know about this book. It's been pretty hyped. This is about Belly, and her family goes to a beach house. Her brother and her mum go to a beach house that they share, well, is owned, I guess, by the mum's best friend, and then the mum's best friend also has 2 sons. She's had this crush on Conrad most of her life, but then she sees Jeremiah, I guess, in a different light, from what I get from the TV show, because I already watched it before I got in my reading phase. But anyway, yeah, I am so far enjoying it. I'm so far, I don't know how many chapters, I'm in 9 chapters. I'm on to chapter 10 next. But yeah, I'm super enjoying it so far. I only started reading it like this morning pretty much, so 10 chapters pretty much in a day. Pretty good. Now we're gonna go on to my TBR. Here is my TBR pile. It stays at 4 books continuously. The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, beach read by Emily Henry. Will Always Have Summer. It's Kiss the Sky by Krista and Becca Ritchie. That's my TBR for 2023 so far, and I'm hoping, I feel like I will only be able to get through 4 books in January. But I will buy more books before I go to Australia, so I will get into reading again. So that is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys all next week.